Your Excellencies, dear future colleagues, welcome to the Serbian Pavilion. On behalf of our government and the entire Serbian Pavilion team, thank you for coming and investing your time in exploring Serbia to the spaces, times, and to the dimensions. Today, we are witnessing one of the first investment conference happening on Expo. So thank you for attention and for your dedication as well. Topic today is real estate investments. We have a great lineup of speakers, but also on the top of that, we have a great value to offer to all the future potential investors. My name is Igor. I'll be your host here together with a great team. But before that, it is my great pleasure to welcome our dear Commissioner General, Minister of Trade, Tourism and Telecommunication, Ms. Tatjana Matić, please.
Honorable ministers, representatives of the Development Agency of Serbia, representatives of the Chamber of Commerce of Industry of Serbia, dear Marko, distinguished representatives of countries participating at Expo, dear guests and friends from Serbia and from all around the world, welcome. It is a great honor and privilege at the same time to have the opportunity to open the first investment conference at the Pavilion of the Republic of Serbia. As the Commissioner General of the Republic of Serbia at Expo and the Minister of Trade, Tourism and Telecommunication, I would like to emphasize that Serbia has recognized the Expo as a platform for strengthening existing and establishing the new friendships and cooperation, which is why I am especially glad that the activities we carry out have attracted worldwide attention. I also would like to thank our hosts, United Arab Emirates and Expo Dubai, for helping us that we achieve our goal. So far, our business meetings and presentations have been attended by representatives from all countries. Our business delegation have had hundreds of meetings at the Pavilion of Serbia, and our pavilion is one of the most visited at the World Exhibition. Having in mind that we are such a small country, we are such a proud for this goal that we achieved. The presence of many interested parties and their curiosity to hear what Serbia has to offer in the era of real estate investment is a significant indicator of Serbia's competitiveness on a global level. The appearance of the Republic of Serbia at the World Exhibition, comprehensive achievements, and our commitments sent out an extremely strong message about the cooperation partnership between Serbia and United Arab Emirates. Good relations at the highest level provide a healthy basis for our businessmen to use the opportunities offered and to give investors additional confidence in Serbia that Serbia is an appropriate investment destination where their investments and business will be welcome and safe. And I must say that this is partly achieved, of course, by the great work that our President Aleksandar Vučić has done, but also his cabinet. And I especially would like to thank Danilo Cicmil and his team for doing a hard work, and not just doing a hard work, but also having a great result. So Danilo, thank you in the name of all the sectors and investors for doing this job greatly. We are just supporting you, and I hope that we'll continue doing this. And of course, our president is leading us in this path. I must just remind you all, and I'm sure that the most of you know, as a gateway between East and West, the Republic of Serbia has a great number of foreign trade agreements. At the same time, both, which is very important for the business, with the European Union, but at the same time also with Russia. The most important are the free trade agreement, of course, with European Union, the Central European Free Trade Agreement, the free trade agreement with the Euro-Asian Economic Union, and with EFTA countries, as well as with Turkey and the United Kingdom. The application of your experiences and the arrival of leading investors in the field of development of commercial projects, industrial and retail parks are valuable for development of our country. Only with healthy investment can Serbia maintain the current rate of economic growth, which is between 6 and 7.5%. And we are right now among the leading countries in the Europe. Since we know that the moment is very hard regarding the COVID and many measures, we consider this result even more valuable. When it comes to purchasing power in Serbia, it is continuously increasing, thus creating a good basis for long-term and sustainable and economically visible projects. Furthermore, our goal is to increase the economic cooperation and the investment flow between the Republic of Serbia and United Arab Emirates, but also between Serbia and the entire Middle East, South Asia, and North Africa region, using Dubai and the United Arab Emirates as a center for cooperation and the continuation of our good relations. I am especially pleased by the fact that we have mostly, during this past year, exporting products of our dedicated industry. It's more than 71% of our export, but also various types of technical instruments and agricultural products, primarily apples. Our goal is to increase exports through further diversification by positioning additional products and services. And this is what we are hoping that today investment conference will result also. Therefore, we are committed to promoting our economy and attracting investors who are leaders in their fields to consider Serbia as an investment destination. This is the first investment conference of its kind organized by the Serbia at the Expo. I am convinced that it will create opportunities for new investment in Serbia, as well as countries as for the business cooperation. I wish you good luck and success during this day and in next couple of months. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Minister, the Commissioner General. We continue. It is our great pleasure to invite our dear colleague, Mr. Tomislav Milovic, Minister of Minister of Construction, Transport and Infrastructure.
Dear friends, I'm Tomislav Momirovic, Minister of Construction, Infrastructure and Transportation. In that short video, you could see that Serbia is the land of opportunity. This is completely true, and our portfolio of investment are going around 23 billion euros. Focus of our policy to invest in infrastructure, to establish opportunities for all businessmen to invest, to increase their value. And if I can say now, we are not a part of EU, but let's say in the next 4 to 6 years, we will be, and your capital in our country will increase, let's say, maybe doubled. In this slide, you can see that Serbia is in the heart of Balkan, is the center of transportation. If you go from the Central Europe to Middle East to South Europe, you have to go through Serbia. That's why we are investing not just in highways, but also in the rail. We will finish from Belgrade to Novi Sad. That's the two biggest towns in Serbia. And in that place, let's say, generate around 60% of our GDP. We will have the modern, the fastest rail in the Eastern Europe. Let's say in the past 5 years, okay, we had some tough period in decades before, but in the last 5 to 7 years, we finished Corridor 10, we finished highway from Belgrade to Novi Sad, we reconstructed Belgrade to Hungarian border, and in next 3 years, we will finish and connected Central Serbia with Western Serbia, finish the highway from Western Serbia to Sarajevo, from two parts, from North Serbia to Sarajevo, and from Western Serbia. We will have in our country fully integrated our country with Bosnia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Hungary, Northern Macedonia, Albania. That's our focus. That's the best way how we can increase our investment. Construction industry. Let's say this is some basic informations, but I have to say in the past 5 years, we doubled our investment in construction. That's our focus. And maybe this slide is the opportunity to tell you that Serbia is the most open country in the Europe. You look me strange, but I will explain you. Only in Serbia, you can go without a visa from EU, from Russia, from Turkey, from India, from Indonesia, for a lot of countries from Middle East. That's why we have a lot of people that are coming in Serbia, especially in Belgrade, Novi Sad, Niš, and buying flats. We have around, let's say, 2 trillion, Marco, maybe you can help me, investment in apartments in the past decades, something around that, unbelievable numbers. To achieve that in past 7 years, we have to make regulatory reform for permits. And you can see, we tried and succeed to all that we can do it through the e-government, e-building permit issue, e-catastrar, to establish e-space for all necessary permits. And that's the second focus of our country, of our politics, to go everything through the e-government. You can see some basic things about construction permits in the Republic of Serbia, and I think it's what is very important. In a tough period, probably the toughest was for European business, in COVID regime, we didn't stop. We have increased all the time. We had vaccines first in Europe, all, Chinese, Pfizer, Russia. I think tomorrow we will get another brand, AstraZeneca. In that period, we gave vaccines support, not just people from our surroundings. We support some countries from the EU. Number of construction sites. As I mentioned, this is an unbelievable number. You can see where we were, where we are now. That's the best number of our policy and policy of our president. to be open for business, to be open for all Balkan countries, to be connected with them. You know, our focus is open Balkan, and in the end, we have all the benefits. We have a lot of investors, a lot of buyers from Turkey, from India, from Russia, but also from the country and surroundings. That's why we are achieved that tremendous success. The number of employees in construction industry. Okay, I mentioned that we are a very open country. We prefer to reach a lot of people. With those huge investment cycles, we can't do only with our workers. Now in our country, we have construction companies, of course, from UAE, from Turkey, from Bangladesh, from India. Then they all have good experience in our country. And let me just show you several investors that made huge succeed and great business. You can see it.
IKEA is offering home furnishing solutions for Serbian people already for 4 years. And we are very, very happy with our business results here. And as well, we are very happy with our great collaboration with Serbian authorities. We also investing in commercial park in Belgrade, Serbia, which of course promising that we stay here for a long run.
We are present in the Serbian market since 2005 with the only and the first business park, Airport City. Since then, we have developed few iconic projects such as Skyline and Business Garden. AFI Europe Serbia received the full support and cooperation for all our developments. Opportunities for developers are excellent. It is an exciting place to develop.
We're investing in Serbia since 2018, and we didn't stop despite the pandemic. We see great potential in Serbia. In partnership with the Serbian state, our ambition is to develop Belgrade Airport into a major hub in Southeast Europe.
Serbia is a great destination for investment in the real estate business. It is a country that supports investors, which quickly create the right environment for construction. That is why it's no coincidence that Millennium Resorts company has decided to start building 2 hotels under brand belonging to the Marriott International Group. These are Westin and Autograph Collection hotels in Vranjska Banja, in the south part of the country, which will bring back Serbia to the map of spa tourism in Europe and in the world.
Okay, my friends, let me conclude it for the end of this presentation. Our focus of our government, focus of our president is to be pro-business oriented, to increase more investment, to support you, to help you to invest in our country, to make your capital be most valued, and to find future in our economy. Thank you very much one more time, and see you in Serbia.
Thank you very much. It was Tomislav Omirović, Minister of Construction, Transport, and Infrastructure. Now it is my great pleasure to invite Mr. Daniel Cicmin, Special Investment Advisor to the President of the Republic of Serbia. Mr. Cicmin, please.
Thank you, your dear ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear investors, future ones, and the existing ones already present in Serbia. Wish you warm welcome, and it's a great pleasure to have you all here on behalf of the President of the Republic of Serbia, to whom I report, and with him I've been working for the past 7 years in creating and building investment climate in Serbia and attracting investors that definitely and certainly boosted the whole economic recovery and development of Serbia. Pretty much when we started in 2014, it was a difficult situation in our economy. We had a huge public deficit in the budget. The unemployment rate was over 24%, and the attraction of FDIs, along with all of the other bold reforms, was one of the top priorities of our government. pretty much in the first year in 2014, we only attracted 3 investments for the entire year. Since then till today, I'm proud to say that we delivered more than 250 projects in Serbia. These 250 projects created more than 100,000 direct jobs in Serbia that boosted the entire economy going forward, including the real estate sector, which is our key focus and priority today. Pretty much you cannot do anything by yourself. I try to surround myself with great young and talented, enthusiastic people. Some of them are present with us today. We formed the Serbian Development Agency that is serving as a, let's say, free of charge government consulting office to all of the investors that are coming to Serbia. Even though I love Serbia the most, I would not say that you will not experience any obstacles in Serbia. As you know, wherever you work in the world, you will experience obstacles. But I would say the main difference between us and the others is that we stay with you along the way. So we are with you when we are inviting you to invest in Serbia. We are staying with you during the implementation process, and we stay with you in so-called aftercare process once you're already implementing in Serbia. So that kind of a teamwork of government and business-oriented government and business-oriented team that is tackling activities on a daily basis and is focused on result, created all of these wonderful results and all of these, let's say, economic recovery that Serbia is experiencing today. There is a lot to be shown today. I would like to invite one of dear people from my team, Nemanja, to join me on the stage and to give more detailed presentation about why all of these investors selected Serbia. Enjoy it, and I will be staying with you all day today, and I'm ready for, let's say, face-to-face meetings and more in detail discussion about each and every project. Welcome once again.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, it is my great pleasure and privilege here to be in front of you and be presenting the presentation Invest in Serbia. So Danilo already mentioned a couple of things, but I guess that this presentation will give you a holistic overview of why should you invest here. So who we really are, this is the first thing that we ask ourselves when presenting to the international audience. So of course, Nikola Tesla comes first here, but we are the country of scientists and professional sportsmen. As you can see here, Novak Djokovic, the current most valuable player of the NBA, Nikola Jokic. But there are some new people also here, newcomers, especially from the IT sector, such as Branko Milutinovic, who is the CEO and founder of Nordeus, the best Serbian startup that sold itself actually this year for $400 million to Take-Two Interactive. So we are really the country of many, many talents, but also we are the country of rich history and also diversified culture. So as you can see here, from Exit, one of the best dance festivals in Europe, to the mountain resorts that we're gonna present to you today, to everything else, we are really one gen of a kind. So when we did the revision of who we really are, let's dive into where we are. So as Minister said, we are the focal point between East and West. We're the focal point of Europe, Asia, and Africa. We're so blessed with our position. And as if you can see here also, the network that we've been actually building in Serbia is tremendous now. So basically, if you want to go from Western Europe to Eastern Europe and Middle East, you can't avoid Serbia. And this is the main thing that we want to emphasize today. We are the modern gateway between East and West. Historically, we have always been the gateway and will always remain open for everyone. And just a quick snapshot of our country. So we are in the EU accession process, as you can see here, but if we speak raw figures here in business, we are very, very, very proud that in 2019, the Financial Times ranked us #1 in the entire world in attracting foreign direct investments. And to even grasp this, having in mind what Danilo said, that in 2014, we had a single-digit number of investors coming to the country. In 2020, even though we were hit by pandemic, we remained #1 in entire Europe. By IBM Global Location Trends, we were ranked 3 years in a row, #1 in entire world, again in attracting foreign direct investments. On the World Bank Doing Business list, we have moved, please bear with me now, 47 places up from the 2015. This jump is unheard of on this list. We were ranked prior COVID 44 globally. World #9 in dealing with construction permits. And finally, Serbia, as I said, the modern gateway between East and West, is the only country in this part of Europe that has no visa regime for almost half of the population of the entire Earth. So guys from the United States, European Union, Russia, India, China do not need visa to enter Serbia. If you combine all these nations here, you'll get 3.5 billion of people that can enter Serbia without visa. It's a tremendous touristic opportunity, and I'll be very glad actually to elaborate this in the separate session. So when we talk about Serbia very briefly, we need to go through what we believe 7 major reasons of why you should invest in the country, starting with political and economic stability. So major outlets were covering actually Serbia's tremendous success in COVID era. As you can see, CNN, BBC. We were one of the first countries in entire Europe that had basically 3, then 4 vaccines available, and now we're gonna have 5. Also, The Economist was prior COVID writing about Serbia's tech boom, and tech and other high-tech actually investments are something that we wanna grasp even further now. In terms of the Serbian macroeconomic indicators, as you can see here, we had, the lowest GDP drop in entire Europe of -1% in 2020. We are expecting now the highest GDP growth rate of 7% in Europe, according to the IMF. Inflation rate, very stable from the 2013. Unemployment rate, please bear with me now. We managed to triple down the unemployment rate from 2012, when it was around 24 to 25%. Now it's shy above 9%. And finally, import and export, these 2 curves were expected to meet sometime in future. Of course, in COVID, they had slight decline, but we're expecting these 2 curves to meet in near future. In terms of the financial economic indicators, as you can see here, we have rising wages in Serbia, of course, showing actually our potential and also our performance in the foreign direct investment department. In terms of the exchange rate, it's very stable. Euro to dinar and dinar to US dollar, it's very, very stable. In terms of tourist arrivals in overnight stays, we are also experiencing basically a major incline. Of course, COVID did, what was unexpected completely, but we are really trying to become the hub of tourism in Balkans. And finally, public debt. We are very proud of the fact that we can say that we are below Maastricht level currently. So basically, if you compare us to many European Union countries, you won't be seeing this kind of performance in terms of the public debt and what we did with our public finances. Record-breaking success in foreign direct investment is the second pillar. I'll just shortly cover this. As you may assume, in 2019, when Financial Times ranked us #1 in the entire world, we had a record-breaking year of 3.8 billion of euros in foreign direct investments in Serbia. 3 billion of euros in 2020, #1 in entire Europe. Last year, actually, United Nations ranked us #1 in Southeast Europe in the competition with the Greek peninsula and everyone else. So it was kind of unbelievable for us to achieve such a result in pandemic year. And when I said West on the East, East to the West, this is the ultimate testimonial of that. So you can see Microsoft from the United States, Continental from Europe, but also you can see Toyo tires from Japan and Linglong tires from China. So all over the place, guys are coming to Serbia. This is just here to testify that we didn't make up, that we were the #1 in the entire world and #1 by IBM Global Location Trends and Financial Times. So this is real, it really happened. So we now go to competitive operating costs. This is the 3rd pillar. And we are very straightforward here. We have 4 major aspects that we want to cover. So labor costs, corporate profit tax, office space, And finally, the electricity. As you can see here, Serbia is very competitive in all these 4 departments. However, for the value loss department, I'll need to say that in terms of the electricity, we are one of the leaders in terms of the affordability in entire Europe. So basically, there are like 2 or 3 countries maybe in Europe that can compete with us in terms of the electricity costs. Now we go to the very heart of why you should invest in Serbia, and that's Serbian talent. Serbian talent here within the pavilion, but also back home. So as you can see here, we have 8 public universities with 82 public faculties, 10 private universities with 48 private faculties. We have a very strong background in engineering, IT, physics, and mathematics. This is, because of the fact that we were part of the Eastern Bloc of countries back in the day, and then Eastern Bloc of countries in Europe because of Soviet Union and their actually experience in the field of mathematics. We inherited this from them. So basically, our performance in mathematics is very, very traditional. And because of that, we were ranked 22nd in respect to graduates in science and engineering according to Global Innovation Index. University of Belgrade was ranked top 500 in Shanghai ranking, top 200 in physics and mathematics. But finally, what is probably most interesting to you here is that we have around 250,000 active students. Please bear with me now. The University of Belgrade has 120,000 active students, one university. It's the biggest university in Balkans, basically. And when investors come to us, they ask us, where's the campus? The campus is the entire city, basically. So you have faculties located all over the place. 35% of people here are with STEM degrees. We are trying to increase quotas of STEM degrees, obviously, because we want to, just as our partners from United Arab Emirates, we want to tackle the high tech in the future. In terms of the high school education, this is very important to understand in Serbia. One major fact for this is that we inherited and adopted dual education system, famously known from Germany and Switzerland. So every year you had 61,000 graduates coming basically out of a high school in Serbia. But as you can see here, they're dispersed to many different majors. So basically, if you want to take mechanic and electronic guys with a dual education system, that would mean that 2 or 3 times per week, they will attend school, and 2 or 3 times per week, they will attend the internship in a partnership company. So this is the model that we want to tackle even further. And this has shown tremendous potential for the new investors, coming in Serbia. And because of this dual education system, we adopted high school training centers. As you can see here, we dislocated them to basically every part of Serbia, and also did the decentralization in terms of the majors. So in Northern Serbia, you have more of a tech training centers. In Southern Serbia, you have textile. In Central Serbia, as you can see here, you have chemicals, etc. So basically, we are really trying to do the decentralization as much as possible. Belgrade is our capital, but Belgrade is not Serbia, obviously. So in terms of the high school training centers, one more important thing is that in the pre-noon hours, they're working as the training centers for the high school students, but in the afternoon hours, they're working as a pre-qualification centers for elders. We are really paying close attention to pre-qualification of elders who want to pursue, let's say, a digital job in the future, and who want to actually, tackle the market in the best possible way, even though they don't have initial knowledge for that kind of industry. I'll be very short here. When we say triple down the unemployment rate, sometimes investors would, say, okay, but will you then hit 0? We still have over 280,000 people that are registered as unemployed. As you can see here, the age groups, the majority of people are coming between the age group of 25 to 34 years of age, which actually solidifies the case that we have young force ready to be actually acquired. In terms of the unemployed by their education attainment, as you can see here, 60% are comprised of high school students. This is exactly why I put so much emphasis on the dual education system, as these 60% of people are actually dual education system guys. Finally, we are very proud of the fact that we are multilingual actually country. So 15th in the world in speaking English language according to Global Innovation Index. There are two major reasons for this. English language is mandatory in Serbia from the kindergarten level at some places, but in every place in Serbia from the primary school. So guys from the age of 7 are having English language in the same manner as Serbian. In terms of actually the second major thing, and this is a bit silly, we don't have dubbed content in Serbia at all. You have subtitles. And this is really a major contributor when we actually saw the analysis. When you have subtitles and hear John Travolta in his native English language, then you can adopt his accent, I guess. Of course, a little joke. Finally, 4 state-of-the-art science technology parks in Serbia are the infrastructure initiatives that we are trying to put in the educational sector. So as you can see here, we have one in Belgrade. Obviously, it has been operating from 2015. We have one in Niš, opened last year. We have one in Čačak, which is a bit more industrial tech. And then finally, Novi Sad, the biggest one, and you'll hear actually from the guys later on, the biggest campus science technology park in Serbia, 30,000 square meters. We go to probably the most critical part if you are here, the investor coming from the manufacturing sector. So customs-free access to 1.3 billion of consumers. Please bear with me now. We are the only country in this part of Europe that has a free trade agreement with European Union and Russian Federation without any repercussions and any sanctions. This is unheard of. Then we have a free trade agreement with Turkey, preferential agreement of trade with the United States, Japan, Australia. So when you combine all these countries, you'll get the access to 1.3 billion consumers from the country of just 7 million people. So this is once again solidifying the case that we are really the gateway between East and West. Finally, we go actually to the geographic location and the infrastructure. Of course, the minister here elaborated on this topic. I would just say that we do have access to the ports, obviously 2 ports in the south, in actually our brother country, Greece, and then on the west side here, we have ports of Rijeka and Koper, so you can use them if you want to actually export or import your goods from the ports. This is here notable planned ongoing infrastructure projects, just to give you actually a quick overview of what we are doing. So we are having 1,020 kilometers of highway and fast road track under construction right now. We are building as never before. In terms of the railway, we are very pleased to announce that in the Q1 of next year, we're going to have a fast speed rail coming from Belgrade to Novi Sad, which will actually hit 200 kilometers per hour. We are building the railway between Belgrade and Budapest, trying to be as connected as possible. In terms of the air traffic, we are very pleased to say that we are having the world #1 private airport operator that is managing Nikola Tesla Airport, French Vancy. And finally, in terms of the energy, since it is very connected to the infrastructure that we are doing, Serbia has strategic gas infrastructure connecting East and West through various streams. So if you want to, of course, step into this topic, we can do that later in the Q&A. This is just to solidify once again that we are really blessed with our position. Firstly, if you see actually that in less than 3 hours from Serbia with a direct flight, you can reach every major city in Europe, speaks on itself. We had 6.2 million of people going through our airport in 2019. This was the increase of 60% from the 2013. And of course, when you say 6.3 million, it's not that high, but please have in mind that we are the country of 7 million people. So that will basically mean that 90% of the entire population went through the airport. In terms of staying close to your customers and shipping goods, if you send 3 lorries from Serbia into 3 different directions, in less than 24 hours, one will reach Paris, one will reach Moscow, and one will reach Ankara, the capital of Turkey. Again, the position that you won't find pretty much anywhere else. Finally, what was mentioned by the minister previously, we have ongoing Open Balkan initiative where we are trying to unify actually the whole Balkan Peninsula into one singular market. And the potential of that is that you can actually reach the population of nearly 18 million people and the GDP of 113 billion US dollars. So we are really trying to use the benchmark of ASEAN countries and other countries in the world, basically that connected into unified markets. Finally, states benefits and incentives. Obviously, this can be very interesting, but I will just quickly go through this to give you the glimpse on what you can actually expect from Serbia in terms of the support. So we have cash incentives, but we have various tax incentives. What is probably here one of the most popular incentives is tax holiday. So if you invest in the amount of 8.3 million of euros and employ 100 people, from the moment you become profitable, you're basically avoiding paying corporate tax for next 10 years. We call it tax holiday. Avoiding double tax in Serbia, we have reciprocity agreements with many countries in the world in order to avoid the double taxation between the countries. Offset against profits in the first 5 years, if you would be negative in Serbia, you can carry on that actually negative result and offset against future profits. It's mini tax holiday, we call. Finally, we are very, very pleased to say that we are really trying to create a sandbox of incentives for the IT and high-tech sector. So as you can see here, R&D costs is one of the major actually contributor. So please bear with me now. If you employ, let's say 200 developers in Serbia, we will double the costs for the purposes of taxation. So we are doubling the costs if you're having R&D operations here in order actually to basically avoid paying tax here. Finally, IP, intellectual property. We are the country that wants to create intellectual property for the rest of the world, as our friends from United Arab Emirates are doing. So because of that, we adopted the incentive where if you make intellectual property in Serbia or import intellectual property in Serbia and just register it as a Serbian intellectual property, every time you sell it to someone, instead of being taxed with 15%, you'll be just taxed with 3%. So when you combine these two, they're the absolute what you can get actually from any state in terms of the high tech, obviously. We have various foreigner tax reliefs, customs-free import of raw material and similar customs-free import of equipment. So if you need to import equipment from any place in the world and it will be your main asset, completely customs-free. We have various employment incentives from the National Employment Agency, etc. But of course, it's not the fact on the incentives, it's the fact of the support that you can get from the country. And we are really, really trying to do our best. So in Serbia, we'll get a one-stop shop approach for every single question that you might have in any related topic. Finally, this is the very last slide here. So we have 15 free zones in the country as an incentive zones. In these zones, basically, the entry of goods, trade of goods, and energy consumption is completely VAT-free. However, please note that these 15 free zones are not, some kind of zones where magic happens, and outside of these zones, we don't have anything. These zones are just strategically positioned, basically, to increase the decentralization and also to increase the performance of many municipalities in Serbia. But you will get the same treatment in terms of our support wherever you go and whichever municipality you choose. So this was in the nutshell why you should invest in Serbia. I guess that we will actually have the opportunity to discuss that even more during the break session and also during the very last session that we'll have today. But once again, my tremendous pleasure to be here and present in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nemanja. Thank you, Mr. Statesman, as well. So now, after understanding and getting the overview of the Serbian investment market, now we're going a deep dive into the real estate sector. So my great pleasure to invite Mr. Živković and Mr. Teofilović from CBS Cushman & Wakefield to join us, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In next couple of slides, we would like to bring to you an overview of the real estate market in Serbia. We will be very brief over here, but for sure we will be present during the day, today and tomorrow, of course, to go into details for each and every market. I must say it's very visible and very easy for us in the real estate industry, and we can definitely recognize all these fantastic efforts that Serbian government is doing for the past couple of years. So it all, of course, reflects all of the market segments that we are covering. For the purpose of this presentation, I would start briefly with office market overview. To speak about the stock and the size of the market, it is slightly above 1 million square meters. Out of this 1 million square meters, approximately 800,000 square meters are bring to the market by the developers for the tenant, while the remaining 250,000, quarter of a million square meter, are actually owner occupied, usually by the banks, insurance companies, local companies, etc. Just to put it in the perspective of the region so that you can more easily compare, Belgrade is a city of almost 2 million inhabitants, very similar to the size of, for example, Bucharest. On the other side, Belgrade has 3 times less offices than, for example, Bucharest. The reason for that is that the market is extremely young. The first office building of international type came to the market in year 2004. Then we had a very good period of development, and unfortunately what happened to the rest of the world happened in Serbia as well with 2008 economic downturn. After that, since 2012, we are recognizing the recovery on the market, and each year it's getting better and better. What type of tenants we have there? All the usual suspects present all over the world are also present in Serbia. So from the international pharmaceutical companies such as Pfizer or Roche or Actavis and all of the others, to very big international names like Microsoft, like foreign banks, etc., etc. So typically what you see in the rest of the world in terms of the tenants, you will see also in Serbia. In terms of the rentals levels, which is of course very important to all the developers and investors, we have a very stable rental situation where the A-class offices are rented at around 16 euros per square meter. B-class offices are rented in the range of 12 to 14. All of these rents are triple net rents. We, of course, all lease agreements in all segments that I will be speaking afterwards are functioning by international standards. So we have triple net rents, we have fixed lease agreements with 5 to 10 year lease terms, no exit options, indexed, secured by the bank guarantees, etc., etc. What is also very important to see, and I would like to point to the lower right chart, where we have presented with the blue lines what is the delivery of the new stock on the market, and with the gray lines, we presented the amount of square meters absorbed each year. You can see that these figures are not matching each other, and that there is a very, very big demand created by a very, very good and healthy companies. Just to mention the COVID, of course, it is a topic that everybody is touching. You can see that only last year we had a small decrease in take-up, which was at around 10%, which is practically for the period of lockdown that we had in the months of March and April. This was briefly about the offices, and now I will go to a retail segment. Again, a little bit about the size of the market. If we are talking about modern retail facilities, it's slightly above 500,000 square meter, and this is the modern retail stock. Out of this modern retail stock, seven shopping centers of the Western type, not like those that we saw here, like the Dubai Mall and the others. These are slightly smaller formats. Our biggest format is the iconic Galleria Belgrade, located within the project of Belgrade Waterfront, which is almost 100,000 square meters. All of the others are practically half of that size. In real estate business, we are using very often one figure to measure the amount of square meters of retail stock per 1,000 inhabitants. This number in Serbia stands at 327 square meters of modern retail facilities at 1,000 inhabitants. Again, to put it in the perspective of a region, you can see that average for the region is around 500 square meters, so there are still more opportunities to develop it. In terms of the tenants, again, we see the international tenants, we see Inditex with all of their brands, we see LPP, we see cinemas operators operating all over the Europe, several food retailers, etc. Again, possibility to choose the tenants and to create very good unit mix of the tenants. A flavor on the rents. Again, triple net rents, all the operating costs are borne by the tenants. And you know that in each and every shopping center you have variety of the rents, but some average rents on the shopping center modern type are between 22 and 25 euros per square meter. This was briefly on the retail side, and we will now go to one of the segments which is probably the winner of the COVID. This is the industrial and logistics sector all over the world. Again, a lot of opportunity to grow in this segment as well. This segment is very young, very mature. Most of the properties are actually owner occupied. And if you want to gather, for example, all of the square meters delivered in the modern logistics and industrial stock in Serbia, it will be around 5 million square meters. Out of it, 2.2 goes for the area of Belgrade. Out of this 2.2 in Belgrade, only 1.5 million square meter are actually logistics space, and the rest belongs to the industrial and production. Again, to put it in the perspective of the region, for example, Budapest has almost 1 million more square meters in the logistics and warehousing space. About the rents, these 3 to 5 euro are mainly applicable for the modern logistics space. Nowadays, we are witnessing also the rents which are touching 6 and going above 6 euros per square meter. But the traditional range is 3 to 5. Of course, for the industrial and production facilities, this goes much higher, depending on the investment that the developers are putting into the production facilities. In terms where this stock is originated, you can see that the most of it, almost half of it, goes to Belgrade. Second is Vojvodina with almost 1.2 million, then Central Serbia and South Serbia. We believe and we hope that in the near future, these figures will be differently distributed, because there is a fantastic infrastructure which is brought to, for example, to the south of Serbia, to the west of Serbia, which is opening large towns now for the new industrial facilities and new investors to go in the parts which were not previously interested because they were not simply connected with the proper infrastructure. This was briefly about these market segments, and my colleague Sergeant will lead you now through residential. Thank you.
Thank you, Goran. Hello, everyone from my side. I would give you a brief of the residential market. You heard how the other market segments are very active, but residential market is probably the most active and really booming for the last 5 to 6 years. This boom is actually coming from the demand side. You can see here on the graph that in the past 7 years, the supply side is actually composed of 5 to 7,000 apartments built per year, whereas on the demand side, we have between 15 and 20,000 apartments being sold. Basically, this means that whatever was built was actually sold, and the rest of demand was satisfied in the secondary market. In year 2020, we see the drop in the apartments being sold of less than 10%, and this only goes to the 2 months of lockdown in March and April. 2021, so far we have the results until the half year, and this 10,000 until June the 30th. We are very, very certain that by the end of the year, we will exceed the 20,000 apartments being sold in Belgrade. Speaking about a supply, we can say that the situation has changed. Previously, on the supply side, we had many small-scale projects, but now in the last 5-6 years, we have domination of large-scale projects, more than hundreds of apartments in a single project, multi-phased ones, including those with more than 1,000 flats in a single project. The developers are actually fighting in the market. There is a big game trying to attract the buyers, offering more and more better quality of finishes, different amenities compared to other projects to attract buyers. The buyers, on the other hand, became more and more sophisticated. Now they know what they are looking for. It's not like it used to be 10 years ago. It's only about the location. Now the buyers are really looking for certain amenities which they can find in the market. Speaking of prices, I can tell you that the mid-market is actually found in between 2,000 and 3,000 euros per square meter. High-end market is up to 4,500 euros per square meter, luxury market up to 6,000 euros per square meter. And we also had outliners, branded residences, which are exclusively in the St. Regis complex in Belgrade waterfront project, which are actually exceeding 8,000 euros per square meter. I will also give you just a flavor of the hotel market. In the city of Belgrade, with 2 million people, we have around 100 hotels with 8,000 keys. This stock is actually composed 50% of 4-star market segment, and combined with 3-star, it's actually 3/4 of the stock. The main points that I would like to stress out here, that there is a lack of luxury hotels, five-star hotels. There are just a couple of them. And on the other hand, there is a lack of international brands. In the city of Belgrade, of the total number of upper scale hotels, only 20% of them are part of some international or global chain. In other regional capitals, these ratios are between 40 and 80%. So there is a definite room for the more hotels and more newcomers to come to Serbia. Here we have just presented a glance of the names that you will probably recognize, like Hyatt from IHG. We have a portfolio of 4 hotels. We also have Hilton's from Accor, Mercure, and Mama's Shelter, and also from Marriott, Courtyard, and Metropole Palace. We are very proud to say that it was announced that in the Belgrade waterfront project, we will also have the St. Regis and W hotels in the very near future. This was from the perspective of the market and developers. And I would like to now invite my colleagues, Uroš and Zoran, who will give you the information about the investment market. Guys, please.
Thank you all for coming. Zoran and I are here from the CBRE, a Fortune 100 US company, which is headquartered for Southeast Europe in Belgrade, Serbia, meaning we cover all of the former Republic of Yugoslavia countries, along with Albania and Bulgaria, so 8 countries in total. My colleagues previously talked about the market overview. What we will touch upon here will be the investment side, meaning the M&A side of investors, their success stories where investors have invested, they have achieved the exit cycle, but also investors who are enjoying the returns that are still present in the market. In addition to that, we'll talk about the potential that's present in our country. And I'd like to start with this slide, which actually shows that the potential that Serbia has. Commercial real estate in Serbia started about 20 years ago, so it's still a very immature market. We have developed the first shopping center and the first office building in the early 2000s. And on this graph, what you will be able to see is the major Central and Eastern Europe countries, while on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the volumes that commercial real estate traded in, billions of euros in these past 6 years. Now, when we were presenting this graph to our colleagues from the government yesterday, actually when we were rehearsing the presentations, they were shocked to see how low our figures are. And at the same time, they came up with a slogan, so I thank you for that, where there is a gap, we see opportunity. And that's exactly what this graph shows. In other words, when we compare Serbia to the other countries in Central and Eastern Europe, who by size, geography, educated labor force, FDI, and everything else are identical, we're at the identical same level as they are, meaning that we have so much potential. We feel that the 200, 300 million that we were trading commercial assets in the past 5 years gives us a massive amount of potential going forward. This year, we will be at the 500 million mark. And when we compare Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, and the rest of the strong economies in Central and Eastern Europe who are trading in 1.5 billion, 2 billion, and even Czechia in 2017, where they had 3.5 billion, is a massive gap. We believe that in the next 5 years, with the stable economic situation that we have, with the growing economic scenario that's happening within our country, and with all the other key economic indicators that our colleague Nemanja was mentioning in the past, the educated labor force, the infrastructure that we're developing, we are on the right path to be in that level. Now, when we speak about commercial real estate, there's really 4 categories that we focus on: office, retail, industrial, and hotels, which we've categorized as mixed use here. You'll see from the graph that in the past 6 years, retail was the dominant traded asset class in our country. Now, the reason for that is because we've had a massive wave of South African capital that invested in our country. At the time, they had a very difficult political situation. Their currency was devaluating, and the whole economic situation was not working within their investment criteria. So they decided to explore other markets. Now, they could have went into the Western part of Europe, the likes of Germany, France, even the US and Asia, and invest there. However, they knew that it's very difficult to compete with the hedge funds that are investing there, like Blackstone, like BlackRock, insurance groups like AXA, Generali, sovereignty wealth funds like GIC, etc. So they decided to think outside the box, and that's what we advise advisors to do, thinking outside the box and investing in Serbia. Once retail was focused on by the South Africans, this means that it was time to enter new commercial properties that could trade. And this graph shows exactly that, where on the dark green shows that office investments, meaning investors buying office products, is something that's growing. This year, we will have a record year, which will include a combination of retail and offices being traded in our country to the $500 million mark, meaning 500 million. So we can say that we are on the right track when we talk about offices. The buzzword globally is industrial. That's the product everybody's looking for. We'll go into more detail on that, but that's the blue side of the chart, which we see that in the next 5 to 7 years will massively increase, because that's the product everybody wants when we talk about commercial real estate. Now, this chart shows here yields. That's the name of the investor game. Everybody's looking at their yields. And what do the yields say? It's 2 things. One, on the left-hand side, is how quickly can I get my investment back? And 2 is what is the cash flow that I will have? What are the yielding assets that I will have during those years per annum? And what we can see here is, for instance, Austria and Poland trade their best assets at the 3% and sub 4% level. Serbia is at the 9% level. Now, what does that mean? It's very simple. I will be able to return the investment that I had quickly, while at the same time, during that process, I will be able to collect a higher cash flow, meaning my IRR at the potential exit will be significant. We'll go into more details in financing projects, but the moral of the story is, if I'm buying in Austria at 3%, I can do the same and buy in Serbia at 8%, while at the same time, I'm financing in Austria, for instance, at 1.5%, and I have a gap of 150 basis points between 1.5% and 3%, where I'm achieving my exit, while in Serbia and in the rest of the Southeast European countries, you're looking at buying at 8% and financing at 3.5%, which gives you a 450 to 500 basis points gap difference, and that's massive. Some of the investors that we've had and currently have in our country, speaking about retail, it all started with the local developers MPC Retail. They were the ones who developed the first shopping centers in our country. And in addition to that, the Israelis followed with their developments. Some are still in the game, some have exited, which is very important, and we'll talk about that going forward, which means that in Serbia, there is liquidity. 80% of my time I spend educating investors, attracting investors, and explaining to them that that they need to consider Serbia, that there is liquidity, and that the returns that they can achieve on their investments are massive. Emo Finance, meaning the European real estate funds, followed, which was always a very good sign. The South African REITs that I already mentioned, and then eventually our partners from UAE who penetrated the market and are actually developing one of the most important projects in our country. Some of the major transactions that took place, I won't spend too much time on this. Two things. One, all of the shopping centers that were developed in the past 5 to 6 years have traded, meaning they've been sold. Apart from those ones that did not want to sell, meaning the investors are happy and they want to keep yielding assets on their balance sheets. Now, what is very interesting to see in this slide is the yield that Delta City was sold for in 2016, which was 8.25. And 5 years later, that same shopping center was able to trade at 8.15%, meaning we've seen yield compression, which is very good. And we are able to prove to investors that the liquidity is present in terms of a 5-year cycle, which is what investors want. They want to know that in 5 years' time, if they want, they can exit their investment. Office investors that started in Serbia, AFI and GTC, were the first ones who penetrated the market. They are still present in the market. They're enjoying the yielding assets that they have, and they continue to expand their portfolios, followed by the domestic ones that we mentioned, European real estate funds also. But what makes us super excited in our industry is seeing names like this who are actually buying income-producing products. And this is very important because insurance groups are the most conservative investors. They want to look at economic, political, and market risks, along with the government bonds that are being issued as a risk indicator. Obviously, people sitting here know that we've issued government bonds in the past. We've been oversubscribed with very healthy coupon rates and maturity of 5 to 7 years. And that's a very good sign for investors because they know that the stability is there and the economic situation is improving significantly. Major transactions in offices. This is what we mentioned in the past. Apart from retail being traded, we're also seeing office being traded. We've had last year a significant transaction of 270 million, which we advised on, where we saw a new investor coming into the market and actually buying income producing assets. Okay, industrial. It's the product that everybody wants. It's now more looked at by investors than government bonds and gold. Everybody wants to buy this product. If you have an asset in, let's say, Vienna, Munich, wherever it may be, and it has a 15, 20-year lease to Amazon, this is considered the best asset that you can invest your money in today.
So maybe just something from my side. So we have an example here of CTP, which is a major Central and Eastern European investor who saw the opportunity that came in this segment, and what the guys from the government and the guys from the development agency were saying is that all the infrastructure investments and and the demand for industrial is there, and this is the new big thing coming. So CTP as the major international one saw this, and they came to the market in 2019. They wanted to take a chunk of the market and provide to the industrial players something that nobody did before, is to build the facilities for the manufacturers and to lease it to them in 5 to 10 years spread. So they came in 2019, They started by acquiring few of the assets, but also started with speculative development for some of the industrial players. And now, at the end of the 2021, they will have more than 150,000 square meters of the space, with additional pipeline until the end of the 2022 that will sum up to a total of about 450,000 square meters of space. This value of their portfolio will be more than 300 million euros, which they managed to build in just 2 or 3 years' time. So this is just an example of the first mover who came into the market and can build mass fairly quickly and become a dominant player on the market.
As I mentioned before, this is the buzzword, industrial logistics. Everybody wants these assets. We believe that given our geographic position, given the potential that we have as an economy in terms of development, light production, heavy production, we will be seeing these assets grow around our cities like mushrooms. And this is what we believe is going to be attracting additional foreign capital into our country because of the importance of this asset class worldwide. Finally, the banks, the financing. Yes, you can achieve very attractive financing. I was mentioning it earlier in our country, some of the usual suspects that you see in Central and Eastern Europe. So apart from investing your equity and having a very attractive cash-on-cash return, you can, in addition to that, get very attractive financing and get the gap between the yielding that you're buying at and the yield that the margin that you're financing in.
Yeah. I mean, just to put this into perspective, you can buy a yielding asset at about 8 to 9%, and then with the financing in place at about 60% LTV with a 3% interest rate and the 20 years amort, your return on equity can be 12+%. So this is very important to communicate.
That is the final slide in our presentation. To sum up and to understand the moral of the story, in the next 5 to 7 years, Serbia will be trading, we believe, above, that is north of 1 billion euros of commercial assets. Now is the time to invest. All of the indicators show this. So we welcome you and we thank you for your attention today.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for the patience. Now is the time for a small break on the floor below. Please join us for networking. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, can I ask you to take your seats?
Sure.
All right. Okay, thank you everyone for the attention. I would like to ask you to take your seats so we can continue with our presentation. You have great examples coming right now and do hope will increase the attention more. So our next speaker is our dear guest, Zorana Bulic, General Manager of the Belgrade Waterfront, one of the best case studies. Zorana, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here with you. It's a shame that we lost 0.5% of the public, but hopefully they will return shortly. I'm here really to tell you a story, a fantastic story about the transformation of the city, about changing the profile of the country, the country that for decades has been known as a country of war, of poverty, troubled economy, and how a project like this can change the dynamic of the city, can change the profile of the country, and can finally put Serbia on the map of international and local investors. This is the image of Belgrade Waterfront as it is now. Throughout my presentation, I'm going to use a lot of photos and a lot of images because I think it's very impactful to see before and after photos to understand how Belgrade Waterfront transformed Belgrade and became a new center of the city. So in order to do so, I want to show you some historical pictures. And this is how the site looked like. This is the exact location where Belgrade Waterfront sits today. So as you see, for over 50 years, this part of Belgrade was very dangerous, very dark part of Belgrade that you really wouldn't want to be in. You had old shipwrecks, you had ruined warehouses, abandoned barracks, and you had actually part of this very central part of the city that was very, very neglected and lacked major living and work infrastructure. Back in 2014, negotiations started between the Republic of Serbia and strategic international investor from UAE, Eagle Hills. The partnership was formed in the form of JV, where the Republic of Serbia held 32% of the shares and the strategic partner remained 68%. The plot that you see here was the plot that was designated for the new development. It's roughly 100 hectares of land that was due to be reconstructed. Let me tell you something about Eagle Hills. Eagle Hills is a well internationally recognized real estate investor and development company that specializes in creation of new city hubs, flagship destinations, prestigious assets, and assets that are mega assets that actually transform the cities where they exist. The company is headed by Mr. Mohamed Alabar, that is known for the things that he do. The company is present in the countries of Bahrain, Jordan, Morocco, Ethiopia, Oman, Serbia, and UAE. But more importantly, it is very much expanding into the region. More recently, the group has acquired a big portfolio of hotels in Croatia. There is an ongoing project in Albania and a lot more plans for Serbia. This is how Belgrade Waterfront looks today. It's a night vision. It's very impressive. But I want to say that the role of Serbian government was very, very crucial for this project. Back in 2014, it took courage, it took courageous, it took decisive actions and measures to prepare the site for the future development, and this is exactly what the government of Serbia did. So they started cleaning the site in the preparation of new partnership being formed. Let me give you some key facts about Belgrade Waterfront. Belgrade Waterfront is occupying a plot which has roughly 1 million square meters. The total buildable area, once we finish the project, will be 1.8 million square meters. There will be a mix of offices. We will have 4 hotels, but very important asset class is residential. Up until today, you will see a slide, but we have launched 4,700 units, of which 3,700 have been already sold. Once completed, the whole master plan will have 8,000 units. I mean, this is impressive. This is effectively city within the city. City within the city that will have totally 20,000 residents within the city. This is actually the bird view of the project, where you see all the residential buildings and our critical key assets that we launched. But I think from this sort of slide, the key message is that so far, we actually, by the end of this year, we would have launched 27 buildings in total. And we would have completed, as you know, one of the strategic assets, which is Galeria, that opened last year. We'll talk more about that. But also next year, we are planning to finish our second strategical project for our master plan, which is Kula, the tower, which is going to be home of prestigious St. Regis and branded residences. And we are hoping and we are sure that it will become a new landmark for our city. I mean, for this to happen, I think what is really, really important to mention, for this to happen, there was a major infrastructure undertaking and things that needed to be done in order for this project to commence. Only a few of them is really abolition of the railway traffic and relocation of the bus station, connecting the central part of Belgrade with the Sava River, reconstruction of large number of buildings in the neighborhood, setting up the platform for the construction of the new bridge, construction of the new rail system, rising the level of the embankment and thus protecting the city from future floods, but also significant ecological improvement due to the reducing the heavy freight transport that was present there at the time. Construction in progress. I think this is very interesting. I would like to you to pay the attention on the left and right side to see before and after photos. These are the two buildings that everybody who comes to Belgrade can recognize now. The two buildings that were launched, construction started in 2015. The buildings were handed over in 2018. These are Belgrade residences, beautiful buildings that sit today in the central part of our master plan. Magnolia, second building that is being launched. Parkview and Vista, another building that was completed 2019. Galeria, I'm just going to stop over here for a second because Galeria is a very, very impressive project. It's one of the leading regional shopping malls. The total buildable areas is 360,000 square meters. It's a shopping mall of new destination, new generation. It has everything that the future of the retail today has. It's actually a fusion of retail and F&B and entertainment. Today they call it retailtainment. And this is actually exactly what Galeria combines all together. Galeria has been opened in October in the middle of COVID. And I want to say that we should be very, very proud of the achievement that Belgrade Waterfront as a project has managed to do, which is actually raise the interest of international tenants in the heat of COVID. So all I want to say that Belgrade Waterfront as a project, but also Galeria looking from the point of international tenants has been very much recognized as a critical and crucial project for the region. So we have had major success in negotiating very, very important deals with all the international brands who actually recognize and see potential of this project and of Belgrade as a city becoming the regional center. We've done a lot in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the roads. Belgrade Waterfront would have completed 14 kilometers of new roads, of which 6 has already been done. Again, there are a lot of green areas, parks that are immaculately maintained, where a lot of Serbians and Belgrade people spend nice time. And this is our strategically important asset, Kula, the tower. I mentioned it's going to be one of the tallest buildings in the region, 168 square meters of height. That is going to be hosted, that will have beautiful observation deck on the 41st floor and the signature restaurant. I do believe that Belgrade deserves something that London has. London Eye and the attraction of the modern city. And we truly believe that Kula will become the signature of the modern Belgrade and something that the whole Belgrade will be very proud of. Here you see the promenade, which a lot of people would remember that this area was really area that that was deserted, that was abandoned, that was neglected. And today it's a beautiful sort of walkway where a lot of people gather for relaxing, for sports, and families spend very good quality time. Let's talk about numbers. We are achieving, this is how the sale of units progressed over time. And I have to say that actually the sales and the performance of Belgrade Waterfront has surprised us everything. I think it's driving the business at phenomenal pace. Only this year, where we are still struggling with COVID, we would have hit and reached phenomenal numbers. Belgrade waterfront, this year we would have sold 1,200 units only this year, which would actually be roughly close to 75% market share in this market segment. I think this really talks about the success of the project and how well it was admitted and accepted by the general public. And not only local investors, but also more so international investors. For the first time, Belgrade waterfront will be featured in a well-known publication, The Investor. This is a publication that goes in 48 countries, that is being published in 165 pieces. And for once, Serbia was a very interesting point where these journalists thought, okay, let's see what's happening in the city of Belgrade, what's happening in Serbia, the country that only 30 years ago was a war zone. Let me show you the images of the Finnish Kula, our strategically important project, which is going to be Belgrade's Burj Khalifa. I mean, this project, all I can say, it's a very challenging, super exciting project and very challenging project, both from architectural point of view, but also from the construction point of view. I'm just going to give you an example of the fact that actually the bits and pieces of this project are being combined, shipped and delivered to Belgrade from several parts of the world. Some pieces are arriving to the United States, pieces are being produced in Russia, and then imagine in the times of COVID, logistics and everything, they're being transported in Serbia and installed in Serbia. This is a very complex project that has a lot of unique points. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I hope Belgrade, once it's completed, Belgrade will appreciate the magnitude and how symbolic and iconic this building is going to be for the whole Belgrade. Some key facts about Kula. As I mentioned, it's going to have 42 levels. Deck 41 is a name that we already know now. It's going to be an observation deck where people and tourists will come to see fantastic view over Belgrade. Belgrade waterfront will also host the W, which is a very, very popular, very trendy, very urban branded hotel with branded residences, a combination of hotel and flats. Galleria, we talked about Galleria, some images. I'm just going to say that F&B segment forms 36% in the total GLA of Galleria, which is very, very important because the future of the retail is actually in leisure segments. So everything, not just shopping. And this is exactly the vision we are trying to execute in Galleria. Some facts about Galleria: the total GLA 93,000 square meters, which makes it the biggest shopping mall in the region. So for sure, we believe that catchment area for Belgrade is going to be not only Serbia, but also the neighboring countries as well. I'm going to just show you a couple of photos of Belgrade waterfront today. We are hosting a number of cultural events. We are also hosting a lot of art initiatives. We are a beautiful place to spend time and enjoy the views, be with the loved ones. But I think I'm going to finish my presentation by saying there was a really phenomenal sentence, and I think the line that the chairman, Mr. Alabar, said on the event we had when we finished the structural part of our Kula, and he said, it's not about high buildings, it's not about the assets, it's about courageousness, it's about being brave, it's about being decisive, it's about taking actions, it's about facing the challenges and executing the vision, remaining brave and showing that impossible is possible. And this is exactly what Belgrade waterfront is. So please, everybody who knows Belgrade would have known how the area looked like before and what we have created today. And I personally am very proud to be part of that team delivering this vision and this fantastic new Belgrade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to hear the story about the ever-changing soul of Belgrade. So let's keep the same way. I invite representatives of the city of Belgrade to join us, please.
Good day to everyone. Luckily, we lost first two rows, but we will of course proceed. Of course, it is very important for us to present some of the things that we prepared for you. My name is Marko Stojčić. I have the luck to be city architect of Belgrade, since the city of Belgrade is probably the most interesting city in this moment in the world, if we are looking the enormous development that we are in the middle of. So, as most of you know, the Belgrade is the capital of Serbia, you already heard many data about construction, about all the business that we are all together in. Pretty important information is that 41% of the national GDP is made in Belgrade. Probably it could be 1 or 2% more. But of course, the idea of city of Belgrade is not to suck everything from the out of Belgrade. For example, we have Novi Sad also here today, and we are very glad if Novi Sad has the same road of success like we. So in construction permits, we can see over here a big growth. Of course, on the picture in the middle, something really important for us is the adoption of detailed plans of regulation. So that's one thing which gives possibility to all the citizens of Belgrade and to all investors to invest in almost every part of Belgrade. Now we are at 80% of adopted plans. 5 years ago, we had less than 30%. So that's very, very important for the future development. On the right side, you can see, of course, the more than 2 billion the real estate market size is today in Serbia, and of course, it's increasing. So you already heard about one of the most important, maybe the most important project in Belgrade, Belgrade Waterfront. I will not speak about it. In the middle, you have also one important Israeli investment, and on the right side, you can see something which is pretty important for us. Probably the most important project which considers complete reconstruction of all the railway into the public park. It is in 4.6 kilometers in length. You could see short movie on those screens behind you over there. It is very, very interesting. Of course, possibility of investments from both sides of future park is something which are we waiting for in next years. Of course, Belgrade metro system is something which is very important for the infrastructure of Belgrade and connectivity and everything that we need to do in order to achieve something that you will see on the next movie. Of course, Sava River also is something which is next to the Belgrade waterfront, very important for the new, better connection between New Belgrade and all part of Belgrade. Savski Square is one important part of the also Belgrade waterfront. It is the biggest public square in Belgrade. So this is a short movie about strategic development plan of Belgrade. Really important for us. It is exciting. So for the first time, we are trying to create a precise picture what will we do for next 20 years and what is the idea for the Belgrade to look like in 2041. So we completely changed way of thinking. For example, this pictures show that we want for the first time to put how to say inhabitant and the people and the man who lives in Belgrade in the first place. So of course ecology is very important. We are trying to increase for 50% area under the green areas. We are gathering all types of spaces around the city. Of course, we are trying to make polycentric city since, for example, we are doing, as I said, a metro system, which among other things needs to help us achieve something which is very important to make Belgrade polycentric city with 11 secondary centers. Of course, energy is something that we consider very seriously to be as how to say as free as possible to use all kinds of energy, of course, in sustainable way. Waste management is something that we are in the middle of. We are trying to recycle all the waste that we produce in Belgrade, and we are near to the resolving that issue. We have the luck to be among two big rivers, Sava and Danube. It's easier for us to have great water. Of course, our water is probably one of the best in Europe, if you are speaking, of course, about tap water. So in that strategic plan that we are doing, efficiency is very important, since the idea for city of Belgrade is not to do only smart city, but to be smarter. According to this, you already heard today that we have one of the greatest universities in Europe. So the idea is to expand it, to construct new faculty buildings, nine of them. Later you will see some proposals for investment. Of course, many other things like transportation according to needs of Belgrade, as the airport, railways, of course, city railway, tram system and metro system will make one entire system which will help us reduce number of cars in Belgrade, which is today 650,000, which is pretty a lot for the city of our size. So we are trying to at least stop that number increasing. You could see over here our idea, which we started last year, to make public transportations on rivers. Of course, bicycle infrastructure is very important. This year we adopted a plan which says that in Belgrade pedestrians should have first position in traffic, second position belongs to the cyclists, third position is for the public transportations, and on the fourth position, of course, is the private car. So that means that we will have much more space for parks, for recreational areas, for pedestrian zones, since Belgrade is expanding. So we must meet the expectations for increasing quality of life in our capital city. Agriculture is a very important topic. We will speak more about that in February when the theme would be agriculture. So flexible city is very important, since if we increase number of students in Belgrade, which is one of the ideas, you heard that we have more than 100,000 students in Belgrade. Of course, the idea is to go closer to between 150 and 200,000 students. We need to give them services that they need to study in Belgrade, and of course to stay in Belgrade and work after their studies, which is key priority for the city of Belgrade and probably for this strategic plan. So because of that, we need him to become more flexible. So after this, these are two opportunities that we prepared, and the additional one. We are talking about Old Sugar Factory, which is very interesting location, old industrial complex from the 1900s, beginning of 1900s. That was the first industrial complex in Belgrade, architecturally very interesting. The location is next to the Belgrade Hippodrome, which is next location, which I will speak a few words about. Of course, the location is 5 kilometers from the city center, next to the Sava River, Sava Lake. From the other side is as I said, Belgrade Hippodrome. Interesting thing is that next to the location goes the first line of the metro system. You can also see that on the screens behind you. It is very interesting, since in 7 years' time, this location will be connected with the first metro line. So the idea is to create entirely new complex, but under the protected buildings that we have already over there, since it is monument protected by the government. So the idea is to make mixed use with cultural, how to say, points of interest for the entire area of Belgrade, and with commercial activities which could help that culture to be feasible. So of course, the idea is to have the investor who will, according to our ideas, have final resolution of this problem and make something which is feasible for at least 30 to 40 years. So next location is Belgrade Hippodrome. Sorry, this is the area. Can you go one back, please? So this is the area, of course, you can see Belgrade Hippodrome, Old Sugar Mill, Sava Lake, and this is the position of metro line, and also the most important traffic line, how to say, in the city of Belgrade. So those two locations, if we are looking at them together, of course, with this part over here, which in next few years will become exclusive residential area, will probably be something which is maybe the most interesting part of the city of Belgrade. Of course, we see it as an area with the most potentials for many things. From you cannot see here, but maybe you can see it. There is also Ada shopping mall, which is very interesting shopping mall. So that area in the summer days, for example, is visited by up to 400,000 people. I'm speaking about Sava Lake in this area over here. So for any use, it will be great. So this is aerial view of the sugar mill, and now we go to neighborhood of the sugar mill. So it's Belgrade Hippodrome. It's the oldest sport facility in Belgrade, and it is very important for the city of Belgrade to stay for that purpose, since it has tradition, and we believe that Hippodrome has the future in Belgrade, since of course we Serbians love horses, and we expect to find the investor who will together with us develop this location. As Mr. Cicmil spoke at the beginning, we are here for every investor to do everything together, to start from the beginning. That's the reason why we didn't prepare in front exactly what is possible to construct over there. But in short, this is the position of potential commercial area, also this part over here. And the idea is to have, of course, commercial areas which are compatible with the Hippodrome activity, and to have some, for example, betting connected activities which will help this project to be feasible. All legal ideas we are open for all legal ideas. So if anybody is interested, of course, after this session, we could speak about that. So the total area, just to finish with the previous one, is 32 hectares. So it is very interesting. Above this is a great forest, city forest. Geometry of the track is also, people who do that every day say, one of the most interesting in Europe. And especially the thing that this hippodrome is probably the closest to the city center that we can find anywhere in Europe. So the last slide is something connected to the strategic plan that I spoke a few minutes ago. So those are 3 locations that we propose in this moment for the student campuses. Of course, Nemanja spoke about students that are living across entire Belgrade, but we see the need of students, especially Serbian students and students who are coming abroad more and more every year. They have a need for at least 20 to 30,000 flats, or how to say, positions where they can live and study for 3 to 5 years in Belgrade. So because of that, we prepared those 3 locations. Next to the future areas that we will develop, of course, number 1 is maybe the farthest from the city center, but very interesting, since that part of the city is something that is going to be developed in next 5 to 10 years. Campus Surčin is something which in part of the Belgrade, where urbanization starts this year by constructing the National Stadium and National Stadium City, which is something really important for the Belgrade, among other activities that will be there. So, and I will finish with the campus in Borča. Since we call it Third Belgrade, we have historical part on the east, New Belgrade on the west, and to the north we call it, as I said, Third Belgrade, really large part of Belgrade with many inhabitants, and something which has probably the most potential of development in the future years. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for a kind presentation. Now going to our second largest city, equally dynamic, offering equally interesting opportunities. So the city of Novi Sad, please join us. The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
investors, boost your business, invest in Novi Sad. Novi Sad, it occupies the area of 699 square meters. It is the second largest city in the Republic of Serbia with more than 400,000 citizens and over 29,000 business entities. The number of employed is more than 150,000. Unemployment rate is 7.9%. City budget is 286 million euro and credit rating is Ba3 according to Moody's Investor Service. Time zone is GMT +1 and average income is 511 euro. As you may see on the map, Novi Sad has ideal geostrategic position. Red line is Corridor 10, Highway 75 and E70, and blue line is Corridor 7, River Danube and International Port. Corridor 7 with Highway E75 and E70 and railway track connect Novi Sad to the Central and Western Europe and Asia Minor. Corridor 7, the River Danube, connect Novi Sad to the North Sea and Atlantic Ocean by the Rhine-Main-Danube Channel and to the Black Sea. Port of Novi Sad has 3 international river verbs and International Airport Nikola Tesla Belgrade is just 80 kilometers from Novi Sad, approximately 54 minutes. Novi Sad will hold the title European Capital of Culture in 2022. Novi Sad is among one of the first cities outside the European Union to be declared the European Capital of Culture, fostering the richness of diversity and interculturalism. Novi Sad will improve the city's cultural life with new programs, new processes, people involved, citizens, cultural institutions, associations, organizations, artists, and new spaces for culture. Business opportunities. First of all, industrial land and build to lease opportunities. Location number 1 is work zone Sever 1. It's located in the northern part of city of Novi Sad, just 5 minutes from a highway 75 or corridor 10. Like I told, corridor 10 connect Novi Sad to the Central and Western Europe and Asia Minor. Total available area is approximately 20 hectares and number of floor for that lot is maximum ground floor +2. Location number 2 is work zone Rimski Šančevi. It's located in the northern part of the city of Novi Sad, next to the highway 75. Total available area approximately 2 hectares, but divided small lots. From 3 to 6,000 square meters. Number of floors for that plot is maximum ground floor +2. This is unique opportunities, is commercial land. First opportunity, Petrovaradin Tranžament. Location is located in the south of the part of Novi Sad. This lot is overlooking to the city of Novi Sad, River Danube, Petrovaradin Fortress, Mountain Fruška Gora. It is ideal for high-class hotel. Number of floor for that plot is up to ground floor +2. Today, you will have unique opportunity to discover Novi Sad Tranžament through VR after presentation. Now my colleague Jovana and Sonia will present other business opportunities.
Good afternoon, everyone. Next business opportunity in our city is build to lease. This location is located in the work zone North 2, very close to the main boulevard in our city and only 10 minutes from the highway E75. And it is planned for construction of the wholesale market. It covers area of 10.5 hectares. And here you can see the possible layout of the wholesale market facilities like logistic platforms, warehouses, uploading and unloading area, warehouses, and etc. This location is intended for the supply of large cities, primarily with agricultural and food products, fresh fruits, and vegetables. According to the urban plan, on these 10.5 hectares, it is possible to build up to 157 square meters, which can be done in phases according to the investor business plan. The estimated investment value is 80 million, and that value is including everything: soil preparation, infrastructure on the plot, connection to the public infrastructure network, facilities, as well as the lot price. Novi Sad is the second largest city in Serbia, and with surrounding municipalities, it is inhabited with more than 660,000 people. And this ideal geostrategic position actually has the potential to serve as a wholesale distribution center for the north part of Serbia. However, there is a possibility to expand further to nearby countries.
Good afternoon once more, ladies and gentlemen, from Novi Sad. It is my utmost pleasure to present Novi Sad's final investment project for today. Our next business opportunity is Bridge Hotel, which is planned to be financed throughout a public-private partnership. The Bridge Hotel is a multifunctional concept consisting of hotel, other commercial facilities, and pedestrian infrastructural bridge over the canal Danube-Tisa-Danube, which is flowing directly into the Danube River, which is the key water route throughout Europe between east and west. As you may see on the picture on the left, this bridge is located between two work zones in the city of Novi Sad. In work zone Sever 4 or North 4, we have several industrial seats of several multinational companies. And this work zone is directly next to the highway. On the southern part, it's work zone 7-3 that is just 5 minutes drive from the city center. This revival of this area near the existing work zones will enable to fulfill following goals. That is the advancement of infrastructure, boost the economic development, and enhance the quality of life, not just for the citizens of Novi Sad, but also for tourists and people from surrounding areas, but most importantly, for business people that are visiting our city. Here you can see the preliminary design of the Bridge Hotel. In accordance with the City of Novi Sad General Plan and its strategic position on the mentioned DTD channel next to the customs-free zone and the port of Novi Sad, which is owned by P&O Port Dubai, has the following purposes: infrastructure connection between mentioned work zones, enabling pedestrian and bicycle communication between two parts of the city, and including commercial facilities such as hotel and catering and shopping facilities. The estimated value of this project is 14.5 million euros without VAT, and this is just an estimation, and it is subject to a change. The city of Novi Sad has chosen the preliminary design, or thus the urban planning architectural solution throughout the open call,
in order to select the best concept for this type of this facility. Below each slide, you will see the sum of more than 20 references from a worldwide professional public that this winning solution acquired through time. The authors of winning design of an open call for the Bridge Hotel described their idea as the design of multifunctional concept in a form of elbow house, which is a house on the corner of two streets with two gates. This is the traditional symbol of wealth in northern Serbia. This solution provides total area of 10,000 square meters, and around 50% of that surface is intended for commercial use. The hotels, the restaurants, the shopping zone, and other commercial facilities. On the following slide, you can see the preliminary design from the bicycle and pedestrian route. Then for the office spaces that are intended to be on the second floor as well as the hotel. And finally, some examples of hotel rooms that are overlooking the Danube. All capacities on this hotel bridge are having one key point, and that is that everybody will be able to enjoy in stunning view for miles downstream the river Danube. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to call again our dear friend Nemanja from Development Agency of Serbia to showcase more about the investment opportunities in tourism. Nemanja, floor is yours again.
Thank you very much, Igor. Okay, to remove the mask. So we once again actually hang out here. Thank you very much for staying such a long time. So now we will focus on the investment potential of Serbian tourism. And by Serbian tourism, we really want to emphasize actually spa and special climate regions. So in order to actually understand Serbian tourism and our potentials, we'll need to go through 5 different pillars. The first one is that in Serbia, we have, as you can see, 28 spa areas with enriched water, starting from sodium, sulfur, calcium, potassium, whatever you need, basically. We are very pleased also to say that we are the country with the highest temperature of natural thermal mineral water in the entire Europe, of 110 degrees Celsius that we have in Vranjska spa. But we are not just the country of spas, we are the country of special climate districts. We have 19 special climate districts that have ozone as well as ions that are actually very good for your health and for the recovery. Also, if we take a closer and deep look actually at our history, you will see that, of course, we are not the first one that actually found out that these regions are healthy. We have 2,000-year-old tradition in using spas in special climate districts. As you can see, Romans, Turkish, and of course, modern Serbs have been using them. Finally, 17 Roman emperors were actually born within Serbia. And when I said southern Serbia for Vranjska spa, where you can see actually 110 degrees Celsius, that's exactly, for example, from which, where actually Tsar Constantine is from. I guess that you can see him also here on the display. Finally, just to emphasize once again, west on the east and east on the west, we are the only country in this part of the world that has a no visa regime for 3.6 billion of people. And this is not just, of course, being used for the manufacturing sector, but also being used for the tourism. Finally, in terms of the touristic potential, we had 2.8 million nights spent actually in spa areas in 2019. And one trivia in this actually particular field is that spa areas are exceeding the performance of Belgrade in terms of the nights actually spent there. So there is around 87% of tourists that are actually domestic, just 13 international. And we don't like to call it, it's a small number, there's a gap. This is a major opportunity for international players to come and actually get the untapped potential of these specific areas. Finally, spa areas are countries, as I guessed, most visited actually touristic sites. And if we combine the fact that we have direct flights basically with every EMEA region and every EMEA city here, you can basically in less than 3 hours get the treatment from Arabian Peninsula, from let's say Scandinavia, wherever you're coming from in Serbia. And this picture speaks on itself. From the mountains and the valleys of Oshar Spa to the famously known Palić Spa in northern Serbia, then to Vrnjačka Spa, which is what we call her the crown of all spas in Serbia. This is just to actually show that these spas are not located in one particular actually area in Serbia. So you can see them dispersed and decentralized throughout the country. As well as for special climate districts. We are very pleased that we have the country that is so rich with mountains and valleys all over the place. And because all of this, it is my great pleasure and privilege to tell you that in the last 4 years, we have managed to do the unthinkable. It is the best 4 years in the history of Serbian tourism and spa in terms of building the infrastructure. And I will now present you just shortly what we've done actually in that particular field. I see some familiar faces here in the stands who are the owners and managers of these hotels. So 160 million euros were invested in Serbian spa areas. Over 1,000 employees were employed there. We have now additional 2,000 rooms available for any of the foreign guests that we would like actually to host here. And finally, the state really got, how we say, chips in it. We gave 32 million euros in incentives because this is a strategically important industry branch for us. As you can see, this is the general overview of the spa areas that were built in the last 4 years. They are dispersed through basically various regions in Serbia. I'll shortly go through them. So firstly, we start with the northern Serbia and Fruške Terme. You can see how they look like here. Then we go to Divčibare, the mountain resort owned by our famous Miloš Teodosić, who is the world-renowned actually sportsman. Then we go to very luxurious Baroque style Tornik Hotel in Zlatibor Mountain in Western Serbia. Then we have 4 hotels in the crown of all spas, the place named Vrnjačka Spa. So there you'll have Hotel Fontaine or Hotel Fontana, how we say it, Hotel Tonanti, which is 5-star hotel there. Also, we have the Aqua Park in the Terme Vrnci. And finally, we have a very luxurious, old-fashioned hotel villa, boutique basically hotel within the central zone of Vrnjačka Spa. What we also built is Eastern Serbia. So in Eastern Serbia, we have Soko Banja, which is famously known for its water, but also the ions in the air and ozone that you can get there. So we are building there, as you can see, Hotel Sunce, Hotel Sun in the free translation in English. Finally, in the central southern Serbia, we have 2 magnificent gems. One is Hotel Jela in Lukovska Spa, and another one, as you can see here, in Košumlijska Spa, Hotel Žubor. But we need to emphasize here, of course, that we take care of each of the investments separately, but there is one that is probably at this point the most known, And this is actually the opening of Marriott Hotel in Vranjska Spa. Marriott invested over 90 million of euros in Vranjska Spa, which is the hottest spa in entire Europe. And as you can see here, this is the previous figure that we had of 66 million on which we gave the incentives to the investor. We have another project in the pipeline in the mountains, Zlatibor Tankmont Hotel. So this brings us actually to the fact that over 13 hotels were built in just last 4 years in Serbia. And of course, we don't want to, just speak on what we've done. We really want to see you invest further. That is why we selected 6 special outstanding spas just for this occasion here. Starting with southern Serbia and Bujanovačka Spa. Bujanovačka Spa is in southern Serbia. It has 43 degrees Celsius of water temperature. It is rich with, as you can see here, natural minerals, and the altitude of the place is 400 meters. What is Bujanovačka Spa actually most known for is that you can actually have a treatment for skin disease, also rheumatics, post-traumatic conditions, and various others, as you can see on the slide. In terms of the surrounding of Bujanovačka Spa, we have 2 beautiful mountains there, Kozjak Mountain and Ruja Mountain. But what is very important to mention for the investors is also the proximity to the airport. So for Bujanovačka Spa, as you can see here, we have 3 major airports: Skopje, Niš, Sofia, all international airports that you can reach in less than 2 hours. What is absurd here is that Belgrade Airport is actually the one that is furthest, but it is actually in southern Serbia, Bujanovačka Spa. Hospital capacities, we have special rehabilitation center. We have one of the most known monasteries there, St. Prohorovčinski Monastery with 140 beds, and also private accommodation with 500 beds. But you can see here that we really need someone to get into there. Finally, in terms of the historic heritage, you can see that even Romans and Byzantine Empire guys were actually using this spa area. We have some evidence that even people from a prehistoric period used it. So the theme of the whole pavilion here, the Neolithic culture of Serbia, actually was present also in Bujanovačka Spa. Now we go to the second highest spa in Serbia, 78 degrees Celsius, Jošanička Spa, which is on the altitude of 550 meters. It is located in central Serbia. You can see here all the rehabilitations that you can get there. It's a bit more for lumbago issues. And it is also located to the most known mountain in Serbia, Kopaonik. Road connectivity pretty well. You can see also here the connectivity to the airports. And finally, you can see that this actually particular spa has special baths within it. There's a Turkish baths that are quiet, in good condition, that can be also refurbished. Ovčar Spa. Ovčar Spa is currently one of the priorities of the government in terms of the investments. You can see here that it's very rich with various minerals across the periodic system. We have their rheumatic disease treatments as well as spondylosis, arthrosis. But what is very important here to mention is Ovčar Kablar Canyon, which is having the depth of 700 meters. So you can actually see here from this picture, it's tremendous. It's really breathtaking for photo tourism and for Instagram tourism, of course. Finally, we go to the northern Serbia. Kanjiža Spa, 72 degrees Celsius, enriched with minerals. Rheumatics disease, as you can see here, conditions after injury to the bone could be also cured there. And you see here also the amenities that we have there. What is particular for this specific spa is we have Tisa River, actually, which is meeting Danube in Serbia. So you can use basically one of the major rivers in Serbia for the amenity purposes, maybe some rafting. Finally, we go to Vrdnik Spa. So Vrdnik Spa, 32 degrees Celsius on the 267 meters of the altitude. We have there various curements, so basically spine problems, migraines could be actually cured there, even respiratory problems, especially in COVID era, you can actually use this spa in order to rehabilitate. Finally, as you can see here, we have National Park Fruška Gora, which is one of the strongest national parks in Serbia, just a couple of kilometers away, with 20 monasteries. The Danube River is actually going there, but also, as you can see here, we have Roman heritage, Hungarian heritage, since we are actually talking about the northern Serbia, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire had quite actually big influence there. So you'll not just see Turkish, but also see Austro-Hungarian influence in terms of the architecture, but also in terms of the spas that could be available there. Finally, the very northern part of Serbia, Lake Palic and Palic Spa. On the 99 meters altitude, you can basically have the treatment within the nervous disease there and problems with spine again. And what is very important to mention here is this Palic Lake. It can be used for rafting, but also we have Palic Zoo for the kids that could be very interesting. So you can basically use the current potential and tap in there. You don't need to build that much. Palic also spa is located on the very border with the our friends from Hungary. So basically, if you want to also tackle European Union tourists, you can do it from this place. We conclude this presentation with one last thing, and that is just to explain that we as a country really stand strong behind this sector. So you can see here that if you invest 2 million euros in spas and special climate districts, and if you employ at least 70 people, we will get 20% of the capex from the state in cash incentives. This actually shows the commitment from the state, but also our openness to really enrich these potentials and build upon them. We have various other incentives. I already covered this, but if you would need any other information from my side, I'll be very pleased to talk to you. Thank you very much once again for staying such a long time here, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Nemanja. Thank you all these speakers and guests. With this presentation, we conclude today first investment conference on real estate. Thank you for joining us, and I invite you to join us again below for a small networking. Thank you very much. Enjoy.